This program is rated adults only and contains violence that may disturb and language which may offend some people.
2 Degrees and their giant blue logo are proud to bring you Rock to the Nation. Is that logo in shot? It is? Okay, good. Can you get me down, please? Hello? The Prime Minister? Yeah, sure, put him through. Hello, sir. Pop's culture? Yeah. My pop's cultured. What, he saw Curry to Carnival once, but he's dead now. Ah, pop culture, like jandals. Fish and chips. Yeah. Right, well, I'm not a presenter, but I can try. The thing is, sir, I mean, I'm on it, but I've literally just landed. You know, I'm still trying to find my chauffeur. Radar. I'm not radar. Right. I'll do my best, sir. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that's me, in a way.
Gumboots, they are wonderful. Gumboots, they are swell.
You're not in Guatemala now, Dr. Ropata.
Ready to knock. Turn the lock.
Miranda!
We're taking that card in for car.
Hello, I'm Rhys Darby. How are you? Good, good. Well, you're probably asking yourself, what is pop culture? Even I had no idea until I explained it to myself. You see, it's pretty basic. On this side, you've got pop, and on the... you've got pop culture, basically. So it's easier to show in a graph than explain it. But yeah, so here it is, the top 100 pop culture moments in New Zealand. We thought we'd start at 100 and kind of work our way down to number 1. I argued for the other option, you know, starting at 1 and sort of petering out, but this is the way we're going to do it, so let's do it! 100!
Some may argue that Star Wars is not New Zealand pop culture, but they'd be wrong.
The emotions that ran through me when I saw Tim in space made me proud to be a New Zealander.
It was beautiful. We were like, yes. It was like getting to the top of Mount Everest, you know. It's like we've conquered outer space and we've conquered Star Wars.
Yeah.
The conqueror was Temuera Morrison, a.k.a. Dr. Ropata, a.k.a.
Jake the Muss.
who got the phone call to play bounty hunter Django Fett.
Hello, Temuera Morrison. Yeah, hi, it's Robin Gerlin, the casting agent for Star Wars. I'd just like to let you know that we'd love you to play Django Fett. And I jumped into the air, way past, out of shot, right up there. Yes, Django Fett, I've got the part. And then I went, who's Django Fett?
What is it, Dad?
Pack your things. We're leaving.
It's pretty hard to watch those objectively, I think, for most New Zealanders. To see just the bro up there in space, talking like a bro. I think it was hard to take Maoris in space seriously.
Is your father here? Dad, Don Rhys here.
Kiwis, New Zealanders, are generally sitting in the movie and they don't know I'm going to be in it until I come up. And then they laugh. I think they just laugh for some reason.
It was just hearing those New Zealand accents in the Star Wars universe that really freaked everyone out.
And I think they get a sense of them being there with me, so they feel good. They feel good for me and for them.
And then in an amazing rewriting of Star Wars mythology, it turns out Temuera Morrison is every single clone, every stormtrooper.
I have 5 special commando units awaiting your orders, sir.
And they clone me to make all these stormtroopers, but I'm not very impressed because they don't shoot too good, these stormtroopers. They keep missing. So something's gone horribly wrong at the factory with their eyesight, which we're going to have to look into, and that's how it's ended up. All the clones in all those episodes are all me, mate. They're all me.
When I was little, I had little Stormtrooper toys, and you could take the helmet off, and it was a white guy. And, you know, it kind of ruined it for me because it was like, oh my gosh, these are Māori guys as the Stormtrooper, you know, it's Temuera Morrison.
All quadrants to Sector 515.
Seeing Tim in that kind of environment, I think, helped us accept New Zealand actors in big-budget movies.
We're on your tail, General Kenobi. Set his foils in attack position.
1981, the Aussies bowled underarm like the cheats they are, but the game also featured the Kiwis in their beautiful beige uniforms.
I think it was a joke from the Australians. I think that's how it all came about.
You got to wonder, yeah, like, because basically, you know, because at that time, Australia made the uniforms for all of the one-day cricketers throughout the world.
Surely they were taking the mickey, but that's what we were stuck with. But it was for the reasons of black and white TV. They needed the contrast between the light and the dark colour.
The uniform was our national shame. But in 1999 came the beginnings of the Beige Brigade.
One of the senior members of the team managed to get an old retro beige shirt at an auction when he was playing cricket over in England. Brought it back, started wearing it to a few of the games back here in New Zealand. People started saying, "We like that, where do we get one of those?"
The boys got busy on their sewing machines and wore their homemade beige uniforms to games. But who was the cricketer that started it all by winning that auction?
It was Daniel Vittori, actually. So, yeah, it's quite a nice little tie back to the current New Zealand captain.
The Beige Brigade have gone on to create their own set of informal rules and culture.
We get up in the morning, we put our beige on, we go to the pub, we have a couple of beers, we go to the game, you know, and then you're out at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're wearing it, and it's like what you do.
I mean, these guys are just, well, let's be honest, they're drunken louts, and yet they're my heroes. Because here's these idiots who turn up in these sweaty conditions with these brown to beige uniforms, cheering on a team that inevitably they know will lose.
The popularity of the Beige Brigade led to an historic pop culture moment. In 2005, the Beige was back in a 2020 match against Australia.
We were massively high-fiving each other and all over the show, and we went to the game, and yeah, I mean, it was just quite an amazing night at Eden Park, quite a magic sort of a moment.
Though, of course, the Black Caps lost.
Back in December 1987, the ladies got an opportunity to see men live on stage in the Buff. It was a play. The play was called Ladies' Night, and it was pretty good, actually. Oh, that reminds me. Yeah, there was a ladies-only night once in Christchurch, and free drinks for the chicks. So I put a skirt on, went in. Oh, yes, hello. Yeah, I'll have a Miami wine cooler, thanks. Pretty good night, actually. At the end of the night, a lesbian girl took me home, so I thought, oh, here we go. But I had to bail before we got to the bedroom for obvious reasons there, but yeah.
Ladies' Night is the most successful New Zealand play of all time. Is it a play or a strip night? Well, obviously it's a play, but there's been a fair display of beefy bits from the actors.
In the group dance at the end, at the very last moment, we'd take everything off before the lights went out. It sort of took the kind of energy from like a nightclub show like that into the theatres, and so we just couldn't believe what happened with our play, with sort of women screaming and stamping. You could buy a theatre ticket, have a lot of laughs, and get a strip show at the end.
Ladies' Night also ruled over Europe and was the biggest play in England for 4 years running. Perhaps the people that were to go on to make the Full Monty got a few ideas. The Ladies' Night authors sued, and it was settled out of court for an undisclosed sum.
I've never seen the Full Monty in protest, even on video, even pirated.
There's a lot of people out there raising money for charity by getting their gear off, and I don't think that you can go then and say, oh, hold it, taking your clothes off and to raise funds, that's my idea.
Anthony McCartan is now a UK filmmaker, while Stephen Sinclair went on to co-write a small indie film called Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. Ladies' Night continues to take off its pants around the world. Professional wrestling. It's a little bit weird, isn't it? But we love it. New Zealand TV show On the Mat ran for 10 years. Featured a couple of guys in Lycra called the Sheep Herders, who went on to conquer the world.
Oh, Cousin Luke, isn't this bloody great?
There's one thing people always remember.
There, Leighton Bush.
Coming up, and there goes the hammer.
That was the sort of the first glimpse the world had of New Zealand on the world stage, so to speak. And I think pretty much 95% of the world thought we were all toothless inbreeds.
They don't think all New Zealanders are like us, no. But they do think all New Zealanders have personalities like us, which is friendly. They know just one way.
In the 80s, the Bushwhackers were watched by 40 million Americans a week, and it made them very rich. It also made them legends back in New Zealand.
Come on, get them out of there.
They should be national heroes. There should be a statue of them.
Luke works in Puerto Rico running the top wrestling league, and Butch is the commissioner for Kiwi Pro Wrestling in Wellington.
If I was a wrestler, this would be my walk. I'd be known as the Pakuranga Pukeko. He's rough, he's tough. Watch out for the legs. Another wrestling connection with New Zealand is The Rock. You may not know this, but he went to school in Auckland for a year when he was 7. Did you know that? Oh, you did. Ooh, look who knows everything. Watch out, here I come!
After the break, the pirate that called Invercargill the arsehole of the world, and the police computer that came face to face with anarchy.
It's a very personal episode.
I don't know what's going on in your mouth. Your breath definitely out of control.
I'm trying to smell what he was talking about. I was feeling fresh right there.
For Labour of Love tomorrow, 8:30 on C4.
When I return to New Zealand after making giant films in Hollywood with giant actors, I'm always met at the airport by thousands of tiny little New Zealand journalists who ask, "What do you think of New Zealand?" At which point I say, "I'm from here, you dickheads. Get out the way." "Oh, sorry, thought you were..." "What?" "Nothing." But when foreigners say bad things about New Zealand, bad things happen.
We expect visitors to compliment our country. Wow, that hill's the best hill ever, or fuck England, I want to live here.
We hate it when they slag us off because it kind of, we do enough moaning already, I think. So we kind of figure if you don't like it, piss off.
The hating started in 1834 with Charles Darwin, who said,
"I believe we were all glad to leave New Zealand. It is not a pleasant place."
In the 1960s, Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones called Invercargill the arsehole of the world.
I just said they were stoned and they're actually in Dunedin that night, you know. I just make fun of it. When people, sticks and stones will break our bones, but names will never hurt us.
The Dalai Lama cut deep when he visited Christchurch.
His plane sort of touched down and he refused to get off the plane because the vibes were so bad in Christchurch that he couldn't. He was like, nah, not going here.
It's probably an urban myth, but Monty Python legend John Cleese did savage Palmerston North.
And if you ever do want to kill yourself, but lack the courage, I think a visit to Palmerston North will do the trick.
I've been to Palmerston North, and I actually agreed with John Cleese. You know, I just thought, you know, that place is perfect. It's a perfect place to die.
In petty revenge, Palmerston North renamed their dump after Mr. Cleese.
Since it's been up, a lot of people have commented and said that's what he deserves.
I think we've got a bit of a thin skin about how we're seen internationally. And I think we've also got a bit of a, perhaps an overestimation of just how wonderful New Zealand is as well.
What? What are you talking about? These mountains roll. Other countries' mountains suck. Computers were scary in the 70s. They were thought to be all-powerful, though no one really knew how they worked.
We all had visions of Big Brother watching us and that the CIA was somehow involved.
In 1976, the Wanganui computer was built for the police. It was to store all your private details. The government tried to reassure the public that it wasn't all that bad.
I'm convinced that their reservations will be overcome when they know of the technical safeguards and the physical safeguards which can be provided.
It operated smoothly until 1982, when a young anarchist called Neil Roberts came along. Tattooed across his chest was, "This punk won't see 23. No future." He was right. Aged 22, he walked into the Wanganui computer building strapped with gelignite. He blew himself up.
I'm not sad. I'm happy for Neil. I'm happy he's finally done what he's always wanted to do.
Neil Roberts attacked a state institution deliberately to prove a point against totalitarianism.
No one else was injured, though an eyewitness was scarred by the experience.
I go to bed at night thinking of nothing else but seeing Neil Roberts walk up to the front door. I see him as clear as a bell. I see him bend over, I see the bang, I see the yellow flash on one side, the black part on the other.
In 2005, the undamaged but out-of-date Wanganui computer was put to sleep after the information had been transferred to a flasher computer. But nobody tried to blow the new one up. We're used to computers now. Google has a picture of our house, and we're happy to post online party pictures of drunken topless co-workers.
It's funny because now we are controlled by computers. Look. Did I get out of shot there? Would look good, me slowly disappearing. I'm still in shot. Oh, Christ. Hey, everyone likes a parade. Back in the 1950s, there was one in Hastings called the Blossom Parade, and everyone thought it was a gay parade, but it wasn't. And then in 1989, we had a gay parade, but it wasn't in Hastings.
It was illegal to be gay in New Zealand until 1985, so it's not surprising that gay people didn't parade around on the streets. They could have been arrested. But after the homosexual law reform, it was time to party.
I led the Hero Parade one year, yes, in an open sort of top car, waving to people and throwing out luminous spheres.
It's the best parade New Zealand has.
Kids are all around everywhere, and this little kid comes rushing up, oh, God, that was fantastic. He said, it's better than the Santa Parade. Oh, yeah.
Gay people are just good at decorating houses and doing parades. There's just no two ways about it.
To walk down the street and have thousands and thousands of people cheering you, they're cheering you, you know, and they're cheering your gayness. So you go from, oh my God, everyone hates me, to these thousands of people going whoop whoop. It's like, that's an amazing feeling.
The Hero Festival started in 1989 and the first parade was in 94. The idea behind it was to promote HIV awareness among gay men. But some people at the Auckland City Council had a problem with gays on display.
Liz Mills, who was the mayor at the time, was not supportive, even though the gay community was paid his rent basically by patronising his gym, Les Mills. I don't know if you've been to Les Mills, but it's gay-orama.
At its peak, the parade was televised and 200,000 packed the streets of Auckland. But 2001 saw the last parade.
We're oppressed, we're accepted, we are celebrated, and therefore, well, the gay community just kind of sat back a bit. The need for the parade wasn't as strong because, well, we kind of got what we wanted.
It seems every week there's a new media darling. A dancing pig, a city seal, this thing. Shrek the hairy sheep made global headlines. We've obsessed over every kind of animal.
I don't think that in New Zealand we're obsessed with animals. I think we're obsessed with fair play and the smaller person getting a fair go. And you can't get smaller than animals.
And you can't get smaller than an otter. Well, you can, but what's the point? They're perfect.
It went over to Waiheke, checked out Rangitoto. It's just a Kiwi trying to have a good time. Gin the Otter, I think, was a wonderful moment for New Zealand, and the fact that it was in that time where the whole world was sort of looking for Osama bin Laden and so forth, and we sent our Navy out looking for Gin the Otter.
Let's go around the other bay, eh?
Roger, sir.
How's she? She right?
After nearly a month on the run, Gin was recaptured and sent to the Otter Naughty Chair. There have been other animals like Cashin who cashed in with the ASB and taught Aucklanders to save with her elephanty bank. There have been sea elephants like Homer who fell in love with the car, and Humphrey who hung out with cows. Our first animal celebrity came in 1888, Dolores Jack, a dolphin who guided ships through the Cook Strait. But the most famous of all was Opo the gay dolphin, a dolphin that loved the company of people, and the people loved her. Aww.
Opo the crazy dolphin, he's friendly as can be.
The song's wrong, by the way. Opo's a girl.
Learn to swim, you couldn't do better than learn from him.
In 1956, at the height of her popularity, came her suspicious death.
Davo was killed by a charge of jelly. Somebody fishing illegally.
It looks inescapably to me that this was not a natural death. We lay her down very quietly and slowly. We now commit her body to the ground, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, and may she rest in peace.
Typical, isn't it? We've got a beautiful, lovable animal icon that the kids can play with and the tourists can marvel at. And then some dick features goes and blows it up.
Coming up, we celebrate New Zealand's only statue of a fictional bald guy and the story of our biggest sitcom. Did we make The Office before Ricky Gervais? Yes!
Good reason. Look, I've got in my hot little hand the City Council Guide to Hamilton. Hamilton. Art has a distinctive presence in Hamilton, reflecting the city's diverse heritage. The topical riffraff statue located in the main street has been recognised as an outstanding piece of public art. Yeah!
It's just a jump to the left.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show is a cult classic. The film still screens in some New Zealand cinemas 30 years after its release, and there have been loads of local stage productions too.
Regardless of what you think of the show, it has become a New Zealand institution.
The writer Richard O'Brien has had a statue designed by Weta Workshop built in his hometown of Hamilton. Richard O'Brien was born in England but lived in Hamilton from ages 10 through 22. It may be dubious to claim him as our own, yet he's happy to give New Zealand credit.
I couldn't have done it without my background in New Zealand. New Zealand is a most wonderful middle-classless society.
I don't think for years and years it was looked upon as there was any sort of Kiwi connection.
Nevertheless, some of the stage performances in New Zealand have become iconic. We'll gloss over convicted paedophile Gary Glitter's time here playing Frankenfurter. Russell Crowe played Riff Raff, and in the same cast was former Prime Minister Rob Muldoon as the narrator.
I think that he was made to play that role. He was built to play that role.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
It's amazing how many New Zealanders get off on that show and that movie, especially. You know? And for some people, that is the most daring thing that they do in their lives, is become a Rocky Horror Picture Show fan. And they think that they're taking themselves right to the limit, and good on them.
There are a lot of clothing labels out there, but there's one that became New Zealand famous on a single day, December 1, 2003. Hollywood star Orlando Bloom wore the I Huffer New Zealand t-shirt to the Wellington premiere of Return of the King.
And that was a big deal, and Huffer got a load of mileage off the back of that.
So I think it was a pretty dramatic sort of catalyst for our growth in 03, 04, 05.
Chris Martin of Coldplay wore it for a fashion shoot for Pavement magazine.
And that night at a little showcase at Galatos, midway through the show goes, "How's this for a great t-shirt?" Pulls off his sweatshirt to reveal that shirt, and did the same thing at Big Day Out the next day. I think it's probably one of the coolest moments in New Zealand fashion, actually.
But what has kept them from going out of fashion is they never reprinted the t-shirt. Instead, they continued on their way, creating new identities for New Zealanders.
It's an identity thing, isn't it? Like, I think because a lot of the I Love New Zealand kind of stuff is, it resonates with people from New Zealand.
They've got a real light-hearted approach to what they do, and their I Heart or I Huffer NZ logo, as simple as it is, it's become a real icon of New Zealand culture and New Zealand fashion and New Zealand identity.
Huffer are cool, eh? I designed a t-shirt for them once. They made it, and then they sent it back to me, and then I've worn it here today. And now for a subject close to my heart. New Zealand television history is littered with corpses of failed sitcoms. But in 1981, we managed to strike gold.
Our first sitcom came about in 1974, called Buck House. It featured John Clark before he was Fred Dagg, and a young actor called Paul Holmes. But our big success came in 1981. Ricky Gervais' The Office was considered a groundbreaking original, but we'd already been there. Gliding On set in an office is our most successful sitcom of all time.
The stereo's gone astray, and the missing files missing.
Everybody recognised the situation. It was an office that was just like the office they worked in, even if they weren't public servants. Everybody who worked in the bank or insurance companies or in hospitals or schools, they all thought, that's us.
The precise time is now 8:21 and 27 seconds, if you want to know. Is the boss in? No. Then it's 8 o'clock.
Di Henwood's dad Ray was a star of the show.
I'll go along there and I'll watch it each time, and then I'll go down and sort of take a bow with the cast And I was lucky enough, I was the go-to kid, like in the Christmas special, they needed a kid on Santa's lap, that'd be me.
What? Roger Hall pulled the plug on it after 5 years.
I didn't want to be known forever, which I probably am anyhow, as the guy who wrote Gliding On.
Right, now, what do you want for Christmas? You want to go where?
Stunt people don't normally become famous, just injured. But New Zealander Zoe Bell has risen to the very top. After doubling for Xena, she made it to the big time. A documentary crew captured Zoe's audition for director Quentin Tarantino.
Hello, Zoe. Hey, nice to meet you, Zoe. How you doing?
It was just as impressive, if not more impressive, that she did it 4 times in a row. And wiped out hard and got up and laughed about it and got mad at and did it again. And that's what got her the job.
The job was Uma Thurman's stunt double in Kill Bill. Her work was so good, she was rewarded at the stunt equivalent of the Oscars.
Zoe Bell and Monica Staggs for Kill Bill 2.
And there were even rumours that there was something between her and Quentin Tarantino.
We are definitely not dating. I think it's classic. When has anyone ever gossiped about me before? It's fucking brilliant.
Tarantino cast her as the lead in his next film. He came round to her house to give her the good news.
I wrote the script for you, Zoe. Oh, fuck, really?
I thought, she's a great stunt woman, terrible actress. Good on Tarantino for giving her the part, and good on her for doing the part.
In America, they really responded to Zoe Bell in that film, and they thought, who's this woman? She's got such vitality, such energy, and she was just a classic Kiwi girl.
Really, I mean, we should never play ship's mast again in New Zealand or Australia.
Next, a house with a door and windows. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if it's time to go to bed, which 2 animals would you like to tuck up tightly with?
Welcome back from the break. Our most famous cookbook set the standard for the food we love.
What's happened? And what's a Kiwi doing in here? How did he get into the studio? See, he's tripped over it, look. All right, oh, he's okay. Little jacket on.
In the 70s, when our only channel closed down for the night, they showed the flag and played the national anthem. When a second channel came along in 1975, they wanted something cooler. After seeing that Australia ended their kids' TV with an animated kangaroo, they decided to get an ex-Disney animator to do a cartoon and set it to the music of a traditional Māori song, Hine e Hine. And a few years later, they updated the cartoon.
As a kid, there were 3 things that upset me about that Goodnight Kiwi thing. First of all, it's nighttime when he goes to bed, right? But Kiwis are nocturnal. He should be getting up.
It was a real treat to stay up and watch Goodnight Kiwi. You know, you knew it was Friday night or your parents had got a little bit too drunk or something like that and they'd forgot to put you to bed.
Secondly, where does he go to sleep? Up, way up high, in a satellite dish. He's a flightless bird. He's supposed to be on the forest floor. He must have been scared out of his wits up there.
When you saw the Goodnight Kiwi, you're like, oh my God, it's real. That it actually happens.
Thirdly, what goes to bed with him? A cat. A cat. One of the greatest predators of the Kiwi. Its only natural enemy. He tried to shut it in the lift, but still, when he got under his duvet, the cat popped up again.
TV Kiwi was a star, famous enough that he had his own books and magazine. Famous enough that other programs have parodied him. Eating media lunch. Back at the Y showed him pleasuring himself.
We're just experiencing some technical difficulties.
We tried to keep the innocence and the whimsical nature of the original.
But even they couldn't destroy TV Kiwi, and TVNZ commissioned new versions of the animation at the end of 2008. The TV show Back of the Y struggled to make it onto network television. There were lots of things they had to deal with. Technical issues.
The technical department said, there's no way this is ever going to air. It looks terrible.
A crater, Randy.
There were morality issues.
And a great big bottle of vodka for you and your classmates.
It's just a Lucy Lawless's head with a badly drawn kind of tits and fanny on it. And we weren't allowed to show that.
There were safety issues doing their own stunts.
He basically got cut to shreds, and it looked like a shark had bit his ass.
And then Bill Ralston, writing in the Sunday News, managed to stop the show before it had even gone to air.
It was like elevating us to a level we'd never been at. We'd never been acknowledged by anyone off TV.
And he wrote a big thing just about how this is the worst thing ever. And then after that, the show got pulled. And then the next week, he wrote an article taking the blame for it.
Saying how I killed the Y.
I killed the Y.
They finally made it to air, and people could judge the show for themselves.
There's equal measures of complete hatred and complete love, which is really what we wanted, you know.
Earlier today, I shat in this puddle and pissed in this jar.
They still did well with their audience. MTV wanted a piece of the action. But after the finance men saw the show, their money was given to Dirty Sanchez. Though they did have segments broadcast on the UK programme Balls of Steel, which they followed with a feature film.
All we know about the stunt is that it's going to be motherfuckingly, big.
After one last particularly offensive series for C4, Back of the Y came to an end.
I should have. There's nowhere we could go with it, you know, like because we did everything we wanted to. It's like it's kind of like the joke's over now.
Oh, that is disgusting. Your friend is horrible.
That, of course, was the Play School clock. Play School, not a New Zealand original, actually came up with it in the UK in the 60s. But we made our own version with one crucial difference. We did our own clock. Doot, 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 doot. No, we didn't.
Here's a house. Here's a door.
The New Zealand version of Play School began in 1975.
3, 4. Ready to knock. Turn the lock. Play School.
Play School was appointment viewing for me when I was a kid. It was like Flag Sesame Street. I'm all over Play School. And I have to say one of my proudest moments as an adult was actually meeting the original Humpty Dumpty.
There were 5 dolls on Play School.
Little Ted, he was the star. He was everybody's favourite. Ted's animal. Big Ted was a favourite as well. Humpty, but he always used to keep falling down. We had a lot of trouble with that toy. And Manu was always very good. Jemima just always needed new costumes all the time.
The UK had the same dolls, except they had one called Hamble, who was changed out for Manu in New Zealand.
Who is it? It's Manu.
Manu, who was a plastic Māori doll that you bought in tourist shops. And because, you know, I had the Māori risorgimento in my heart, I would try and favour her, but she looked so not Māori.
Manu wins the prize.
She always had no shoes on. Did you ever notice that? Like, have a look back. Jemima had some shoes and socks and, like, her hair and some pigtails. Not Manu, she just had the F, no shoes on. But hey, at least we had a Polynesian doll in there.
I got nicknamed Manu at school because of Manu. She looked a lot like me.
Manu the Mahout.
Manu is alive and well, living in Te Papa along with 3 of her fellow stars. But little Ted is gone.
When I used to work on What Now, we shot this skit called Serial Stuff, and it involved a lot of dolls and toys and miniature sets. And one time the script called for the dolls to be attacked by a teddy bear, and they end up blowing them up. And so the props guys went out the back and were trying to find a bear, couldn't find one, and ended up using the original Little Ted. They blew up Little Ted.
Rest in pieces, little Ted.
A home on the rolling sea.
In the 70s, Māori art was gathering dust in museums around the country.
New Zealanders would have been quite happy to just keep it all locked up in the back of the museum.
The idea was to try and get that art out of the natural history museums and into the context of being great and popular art, which is what it is.
The exhibition Te Māori was born.
I kind of thought that the Te Māori was like stuff let out of a prison, was actually set free.
Te Māori opened in New York and travelled to 3 other cities. 600,000 Americans were captivated by the exhibition.
Well received, and it got a lot of good publicity too. And, you know, it uplifted the people.
For 1 whole hour, I was left with that exhibition completely alone and undetected in spite of the high security. And it was a wonderful thing to be able to spend that time with those amazing pieces.
Once the American public and the American art museums, museums of art like the Metropolitan, had seen and acknowledged this as great art, well, New Zealanders had their eyes opened and they thought, well, it is great art.
When Te Māori came to New Zealand in 1986, it was a sensation, with close to 1 million people visiting the exhibition.
My ancestor that was in Te Māori was a hero where we're from, and there's a lot of pride in being associated to him. And even better, my older brother was given the job of looking after him in the exhibition.
Te Māori changed the way New Zealanders looked at Māori art.
There was no question that Te Māori was a turning point, and I'm kind of hoping that the new direction might assert at last that these are great works of art.
Remember when Air New Zealand used to hand out those plastic tickies when you board a plane? I got one when I was a kid, and I must have worn it forever. And then I lost it. Oh, that's right, I think Jason took it. Jason.
Coming up, we celebrate twins and look at famous on-air fuck-ups. Sorry about the language, but it's just a taste of the profanity you're about to hear.
It's an advertiser's dream to become part of pop culture. Trust British paints? You probably just thought I was an idiot if you hadn't seen that ad. I'm hoping you yelled out, "Sure can!" You can't... Rolf Harris? All right, maybe you'll remember this one.
The idea for the Yeah Right ads came about in 1994 with a social outing organised by Tui with some Tui drinkers.
One of the guys was the one without the girlfriend, and he has been sledged a bit by the other boys, and he was saying, well, yeah, I don't have a girlfriend because, you know, I've only got a motorbike, can only fit one type of bird on the back of the motorbike, and it's a crater Tui. And they're just laughing at him, and they just said, oh, yeah, right.
And the idea was born. They started with billboards around the Hawke's Bay area.
And so we just bought sites, only about half a dozen, painted them orange and black, and then the words got painted out, you know, every 2 or 3 weeks.
The first one was no shorts, no singlet, no jandals outside a bar, but they soon became more mischievous. They regularly have to face up to the Advertising Standards Authority for billboards like these. Oh, for goodness sake, come off it.
Those complaints, some of them might have... Usually we pull them down. We say, whoopsie, made a mistake. Whoop, that one's coming down. And then we apologise.
There are 2 books of the best of the billboards. They've sold over 50,000 copies. The average non-fiction book sells around 2,000. The people behind the billboards are obviously onto something.
They appeal to that New Zealand sense of humour, where we don't need to use too many words to say something that's funny.
I think I found one funny once. No.
I have to say that during rush hour traffic, man, it puts a smile on your face, eh?
Why has no one got up there and written, you know, something like, these ads just keep getting funnier, or something like that on it?
Occasionally they do change them in protest, but the genuine ones have been going for 15 years now, and there's no plan to end them. New Zealand viewers love to be shocked. In 1977, they had the opportunity to be outraged when the 4-lettered barrier was broken for the first time by Neville Purvis.
And that's on the level. You reckon that should do it? Yeah. At least we never said fuck.
The next morning, it was front page on the papers with a photo. There were apologies from the hierarchy at the NZBC, who knew about it but said they didn't. These strange things happened. I was instantly famous.
There was so much controversy, he was summoned by the police.
At that point, I was unemployable by the NZBC.
He had to move to Australia. When the same word was said a decade later on kids' TV show What Now, there wasn't the same fuss.
We were racing off in a car and went over a speed bump, and I banged my head, and this word slipped out very clear. And I remember coming back, we drove around the block and we came back and everyone's outside the
Clapping. Well, that's very good, very clever. But the feedback from the audience, they got 3 phone calls, if I remember correctly. That was it. They didn't believe it happened. Kids television, that word wasn't going to be there, so yeah.
And 30 years on, things are very different. There were no complaints when youth show Space tried to set the world record for swearing on network TV.
Fuck, shit, shit, fuck, shit,
Maybe it's hard to shock people these days, but a kids show managed it. The moment was shocking and disturbing and sickening.
Some handlebars.
The eye-popping incident.
I've asked you not to talk about that.
Can we just have a quick chat about the eye-popping incident?
Turn that camera off. I'm in my caravan. Right here on the farm. I'm in the pig pen.
Just shooting out like that. Shooting out.
I'm out of here.
Come on, you can come back.
I'm sorry.
There's been many outtakes made during the recording of this program. When I get back from overseas, there's many things When I return from overseas, there's plenty of things I like to do. Christ! The history of New Zealand that's smudged. It's smudged. You don't use a whiteboard marker. Use a Vivid, OK? I can't read that. Use a Vivid, I've told you! Whiteboard markers is pathetic! Where's the fucking exit? The fucking Truman Show! Sorry about that. Let's move on, eh? Twins. They're weird. The way they're connected, you know. One gets hurt and the other one feels it. Oh! I can feel my leg. Someone's hurting Rachel. Rachel, is your leg okay? No, someone's pulling it. Yeah, I felt it. Just sort of a spiritual connection they have, I guess. I've got a twin, actually, but he's imaginary. He's right here. There he is. How are you? Are you? Good one. Just holding hands there. It's okay to hold hands with your brother. He's my brother. My brother. Have a go on that. Oh, yeah. Ah, no, that's a bit racist. Like he couldn't hear that. It's all right, he's from the South Island. Get out of it.
In 1997, the Ingham twins from Nelson stowed away on a Malaysian ship. Sarah had fallen in love with one of the crewmen. Then they went missing. The media went into overdrive, wondering what had happened to the girls.
There's been no sign of twin 18-year-olds Sarah and Joanne Ingham since they disappeared early on Sunday morning.
They turned up 17 days later with an unbelievable story. They jumped overboard and swum through shark and crocodile-infested waters to Australia. The inarticulate twins became national stars. The women's mags handed them big wads of cash for them to retell their story.
I'm such a fan of the Ingham twins. I think they were so interesting. They came along in the women's magazines when the only stories were, you know, boring celebrities getting married. And then suddenly the Inghams came along.
They were all over the news. Most of it was them going in and out of court for various minor charges. But their most famous media appearance was the Holmes Christmas party. It was train wreck television.
These are the Ingham twins, Sarah Ingham and Joanne Ingham. It's very nice to see you. Where are you living these days?
In Nelson.
Nice?
Yeah.
It's very sunny there, isn't it?
Yes, sometimes.
And you got on what, yesterday?
Yeah.
I see. So how's everyone, Mum and Dad?
They're fine.
OK. Enjoying Auckland?
Yeah, it's all right.
I'd seen them talk in interviews and thought there's not much going on in the brain department.
Why did you turn up to the Christmas barbecue of Holmes if you weren't going to talk at all?
Yeah. It was like, why do you want to know what they think? They're fucking morons, you know?
Since then, the twins have both married, turned Muslim and had a baby each. Sarah's baby's called Muhammad and Joanne's is called Mohammed. Sorry, that's Muhammad.
Some of the most interesting New Zealanders we've ever had, and I'm surprised no one's made a movie about their story. Anna Paquin could do it.
Actually, there is a film in development.
So that's it. That's the end of the first show. Thank you. Yeah, cheers. If you're taping it, stop the tape now, rewind it, take it out, and write pop culture down the side of it with a Vivid. Then put it on the shelf and leave room for 5 more. By the end of it, you'll have a whole box set. People will come round, oh, what's that box set? Yep, I've taped those. Pull the tabs off so no one tapes over it, by the way. And don't hand the tapes out. They're genuine, they're yours. We'll get together in 10 years and go, oh, remember when you taped those shows on your VHS? Why'd you do that for? I don't know. See you next week. Is it? OK. What sort of cab is it? I need a luxury one.
On the next episode, we look at publicity stunts, Stuart Nielsen kissing Britney, how we lost the use of our car, and the terrorist at the Music Awards. not a terrorist. Thanks, New Zealand.